Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Breathing Room. Thank you guys so much for joining us again. We have some great information that we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the name of this episode is "Where Do You Stand?" So, to start things off, we're going to chat a little bit about Savannah's experience on having a black man.
Hey, girlfriend.
Girlfriend.
Hey,
So
boo.
So yeah, we
I
just want you to just share a little bit of your experience of being married to a black man, especially with all this
yeah.
stuff going on.
So I'm white. If you can't tell, I am white,
Thank you for
and
telling us.
I am married to a black man. And what I've found in my life is that because I'm white, and I can be having a conversation with another white person, just a seemingly nice, normal white person. You think until they say something completely out of the way that like you would have never expected, like just something ignorant, like, oh well, that woman, she had a black or a mixed child, or she's married to a black man, blah blah blah. I just don't believe in mixing races, or can you believe what these black people are doing? Black Lives Matter, blah blah blah. Like all this
That's
stuff in
crazy.
front of me, okay, but they don't realize that I'm married to a black man. So then when I like pull out my phone, I'm like, you want to see a picture of my cute little baby and my family? They're like, jaw
Right.
drop.
Right.
I
Let
just
him
said
know.
all that in front of her. So I find myself a lot like having to correct people. I mean, because the blatantly honest truth is that white people say ignorant things in front of other white people that they may not say in front of you guys, but they're saying it. They're saying it like in the
Wow.
privacy of their homes. They're saying it to other white people. And that's the
Mhm.
truth. And it's
Wow.
unfortunate. And it makes me feel sick to my stomach sometimes. But all I know to do is like correct it when it happens, when
That's
ignorance
good.
happens.
That's the least you could do.
Which leads me
All
to
you could do, really.
the other day when I posted something that kind of stirred the pot a little bit on my Facebook. And it was a picture of a girl holding a sign. She was protesting. And it said something to effect of, so if you've ever wondered what you do during slavery, the Holocaust, or the civil rights movement, you're doing it now. And I think that is so relevant in today's world because look at us. We're basically living in history right now. I mean, there's
Right.
protests all
Right.
across
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
Things are happening. And it takes me back to like being a child and even recently and listening to my grandmother who was alive during the civil rights movement. And, when segregation was in schools, she grew up in Alabama, like the deep South. But the thing is, like, I've never heard her say a derogatory thing about Black people, about the civil rights movement. She's actually, even before I was even married to a Black man, like, have no reason to say this. She used to tell me stories about how she would like sneak and go to the Black high schools so that she could go to their football
Wow.
games and their dances because they
It's
were
been
more
in
fun.
you since your grandmother time, girl. It's just in your blood.
Yeah.
Ah,
To
So
marry a black
blood.
man.
like, yeah, so I'm like, okay, that's great. Like, I want to be that person. Looking back to tell my children and my grandchildren and great grandchildren, like, I was on the right side of history. And I
Right.
think other people and like other white people especially need to be able to say that. And they need to look at the time we're living in.
Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Savannah. So I actually saw your status when you posted it, and it really struck me when I read it. And so then I saw that you had a comment left by somebody, and I clicked on the comment, and the comment actually kind of made me upset. So I had to respond. But you had somebody on that status, and they said, "Hey, Savannah, you can't really say that times are just as bad. You can't compare times today to the times of the Holocaust or the Civil Rights Movement." He actually said because things are so much better than they used to be when I was growing up in the 60s. And this person is
yeah.
not a black person who was actually like being affected by injustices in America. It was a white person. And so I said,
Okay.
who is he to say that things are so much better than they used to be and that we can't compare today's racial society to things like the Holocaust? Because if
Right.
you want to be honest, the Holocaust was mass execution of Jews, but today we still have mass execution. It is a murder. It is an execution. When
Right.
we saw George Floyd was the execution of a black
It
man.
was.
And
It
the thing is
definitely was.
that imagine the things that we're seeing that are not recorded. So we're
Right.
constantly seeing in the last 2 months, like how many people, black people have we
Yeah.
seen die on TV, like watching it for sport,
Watching it.
And
Execution.
so don't tell me that today's the environment of today's racial society is any different, because we are still black people are dying at a substantial rate. The prison system, most of the prison system is brown and black people. There
That's
is
true.
such a disparity in the amount of whites that are in our prison system and the amount of black and brown people that are in our
Right.
prison system, and it's really just another form of slavery. If you've ever watched
Absolutely.
Eva DuVernay's Netflix documentary called 13th, it's about the 13th Amendment, and it
Mm-hmm.
talks about how once slavery was eradicated, how it was just a loophole to put black people into the prison system, because if once you became a criminal, you're literally like a slave again. They take all your rights away. So they started putting black people and feeding them into the system. I get so much deeper, but
Right.
I just want to sum it up with what Miriam's not on the call today, but she is a part of the breathing room team, and she responded as well. And she said it's not up to the oppressor to decide when things get better. It's up to the oppressed.
Absolutely.
We have the right to
Yes.
decide when things look a lot better and when we're not being oppressed anymore. So as a white person, don't come and tell me, oh, things are so much better for you. You're not living in my skin. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't
Mm-mm.
understand. So it's up to me. And things are not better. I
No.
think it's like it's a statistic of a rate of 2 black people dying by the hands of police officer, two people a week. Like that's crazy. So things are not better,
That
and
is
we still
crazy.
have a long way to go. I'm not saying that we have not made progress at all. I don't want to deny the fight and the progress that MLK and Malcolm X and so many other civil rights leaders were here, and they fought for us, and they did make progress, but nowhere near at all where we need to be. And a lot of it is just covered up. So anywho, I'll get off my soapbox.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think you know what I don't think it's better. Like you said, it just looks different.
Mhm.
I think, and I'm gonna stick to my theory. I think every since Trump has been our president, racism existed,
Mhm.
but I think since Trump has been our president and he represents the vision, and he can't say that he don't, because you know what they say, what's on the head it trickles down. I don't know how they say it in the
Mhm.
church,
Yeah.
but I
Mhm.
do think that he represents the vision, and ever since he's been our president, guys, it has been so much chaos. And I think a lot of racism has been exposed, and a lot of
Mhm.
people are free to express their racism because of
Right.
who our head is. Like,
You
I
feel
mean, I
validated
think,
by Trump. Mhm.
yeah, like there were times when you couldn't even really tell a white person was racist.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
My
they wasn't
point.
as bold. It wasn't as bold as it is today. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
what the heck is going on? Like,
Right.
even if we go back to when I don't know what exactly happened, but in South Carolina or North Carolina, when it was a protest going on and the white supremacists was out there, and it was, I don't know if y'all remember all that, but it was just a mess. Like, and I just think that is racism is being exposed. I think, well, this is what I feel. I feel like racism is being exposed, and I think change will take place, but I think it's going to have to be more on a systematic approach.
It
We
has to
can't
be. That's the
change, you
only
know what I'm
way.
saying? We can't change people's hearts. Like,
Right.
I can't change how a white person feel about me because I'm black.
Mhm.
But what we can do is keep demanding systematic change, like with the police officers, um, making sure we showing up, voting. It's just certain things that we can do to represent to make sure these systematic things are put in place, even down to our kids being in the education field. Like,
It's,
if you would do
it's a
your
whole system.
research.
You have to tear down every part of the
Yes, if,
system, like
if
you
you do
said.
your research, and I think me and my husband was looking at some statistics on the computer about how white students perform at a higher level than black students, and we were trying to figure out,
We're
like,
not getting
even where I
statistics.
live at, yeah, like even where I live at, like great schools, but for some reason the white students are still performing at a lower level, at a higher level than black students. So it's always some type of separation, always type of division is going to happen. But I think if we start to put these systems in place to where everybody is being treated fairly, as long as they're a student, as long as they're a citizen, as long as you are a police officer and I am a citizen, you have to treat me this way no matter what. Now, how you feel after you clock out, that's your business. But I think nothing is. I think if we don't put these systems in place, we're always going to see it. Because I can't change anybody's heart or how they feel about me. So I think it is a lot of change that need to take place. Don't get me wrong, we have came from a long way. We have overcame a lot, but we still have a long way to go.
Right.
We still have a long way to go.
Exactly. I agree. Go ahead, T.
So my question is, and it goes back to what you were saying
Tiki?
about the protest between the whole situation where the white supremacists came out. So do you guys think that with all the protesting, our allies or other outspoken entities will ever see like any permanent change?
So my husband called me real radical because I am really passionate about this. But he calls me, he's like, oh, so now you don't want to be peaceful anymore. Because I told him, I said, really, there are many days where I feel like we just need to be separate but equal. I know we fought so hard to try to be equal with white people. But at this point, I'm just to the point where are they ever really going to accept us? Are we ever really going to be equal? So at this point, I'm all about I'll protest with the best of them. I've been out there to different protests. I'm making sure I do things and follow and sign. I'm signing protests and I'm making phone calls to our legislators and things of that nature. But also, I'm all about this black dollar and keeping this black dollar in the black community separate but equal. We need to go back where we have our own black schools, our own black law firms, our own black medical practices, our own black businesses, and feed the cycle there. Because I feel like for so long we've been fighting to be integrated and be in this inclusion space. And I believe that's great. I think that that's an ideal situation. I think that's beautiful if we could ever achieve that. I just don't know that I see that happening. And maybe that's not like the godly thing. And, I don't know. But I think that it's very important to take our black dollar out of this system. We are responsible, our race is responsible for over $1 trillion in the economy on a regular basis. I was telling you earlier, I'm boycotting Starbucks right now because Starbucks came out with that statement saying that their people where Black Lives Matter, but you tell them that they should always promote the LGBTQ cause, but you don't want them to support Black Lives Matter. And then they rescinded that 2 days later because they got all this backlash. Too late, boo-boo. I ain't going to Starbucks. And when I drive past, I cry a little bit because I want my pink drink and I want my white chocolate mocha and I want my cake pops. But I'm going to holler at Dunkin' and all these other locally owned coffee shops. And that's where I'm going to have to start taking my black dollar because I refuse to put my black dollar into a system that's going to continuously oppress me. So I'm just not going to do it anymore. But I think that it starts there. And for instance, I was saying, what about y'all seen in the news? And it was like all over social media, went viral. That town, Toonsville or something like that, that's up for sale.
Yes, I saw
like
that.
$1.2 million. I was like, somebody need to buy the town. Where's Tyler Perry at now? He need to buy the town and we need to change the name, Black Lives Matter bill. Get some black folks, start some black schools over there, get some black schools. Like remember Black Wall Street and how that was like the fact that we do not teach our children about Black Wall Street and it is not a part of the regular public school curriculum is a problem because they have whitewashed education. Y'all see I'm real passionate. I'll go on. Okay. And even as a teacher, though, I teach world history and I teach on Africa and I tell my kids the real deal. Okay. And I let them,
absolutely.
Like, I think it's important to teach them. But the fact that we don't teach on Black Wall Street and we don't teach on Juneteenth, and I think it's beautiful that like people now all of a sudden are coming to the side of Black Lives Matter and you have a lot of white allies. And I think that's beautiful because we can't do it alone. We need white allies, but we need white allies not just with us marching in the protests. We need white allies with us at the voting polls, and we need white allies with us in these corporate positions and leadership in these companies. We talked earlier about how Aunt Jemima is rebranding, and I think the Quaker Uncle Ben's or somebody, all these people are now rebranding. What's the point of that? This is just a PR move to say that I still want your black dollar, so let me take away this. That's been racist since you started the brand. So clearly, all of a sudden now in 2020, decades later, you're deciding, oh man, that's a little racist. Maybe we should take it away. Like,
Like
no.
Savannah said, black people just showed
Or
up.
like black people
Right.
just came out, like just
Right.
graduated yesterday. Woo!
Like, hey.
Right, exactly. So I'm just like, what? No, I need a little bit more than that. I need to see what's happening what are the policies that you have for inclusion and diversity within your company? How many black and brown faces do you have in the C-level leadership of
Absolutely.
your company? I need to see more than just the fact that you're taking something away so that you can appease me so you can keep my little black dollar. Like,
Right.
no, I'm not falling for it. And I think that
Right.
it became like this trend. Once one company came out with a statement with Black Lives Matter, now all companies on their websites want to have a statement to say Black Lives Matter. They want to put the little stick in their yard at their corporate headquarters. Like, I need to see more than that. That does
Yeah,
nothing
and
to stop the systematic
yeah.
oppression of my people.
Yeah,
So,
I think none of this started happening until George Floyd died, and
mhm,
those black people was acting a fool,
mhm,
blowing up like what they was doing, setting the police station afire. Like,
right,
yeah, like the pressure is on, and a lot of people feel pressured, whether
right,
they believe it or not. If you're in business, you have to feel some pressure. Like, I mean, I was just riding around in Atlanta. I see some businesses just have the Black Lives Matter signs up, like, "Hey, don't bust my window because I support Black Lives Matter." Like,
But
you
do
know,
they
and I
really?
think
Right? Do they really?
right. So I
Or
think
are you just trying to again appease me so that you can keep my
yeah,
black dollar, or we don't vandalize your property or saying? Let me not say we, because black and brown people is most of the time not the ones vandalizing the property. Okay,
yeah,
it's
Right.
folks
True.
doing it and we getting blamed for it.
right,
But yeah, we need more than that. This is a whole system. This is like socioeconomic level, like where we're
right,
living. This is our
right.
education system, how we're educating our black and brown kids. Like Ashley, what you said, the reason why we're seeing white children outperform black children is because black children, majority of black children are in a community where they don't have the
They don't
funds
have
in the education
yes,
system like
absolutely,
white children have
absolutely.
the monies that are being poured into their education system. So
Yep,
that's why we see they're outperforming us. That doesn't mean that they're smarter than we are.
smarter, absolutely.
So I got
Um,
another question.
Yep.
Since we're
mhm,
talking about education, right? And we have the whole COVID-19 Corona, and we don't see a means to an end when it comes
Yeah.
to the whole coronavirus and everything. The kids had to get out of school super early, and like they did the distance learning whole spiel, which was
Mm-hmm.
kind of crazy because the parents wasn't really aware of, okay, this is what my child needs to do, or whatever the case may be. So what do you all think about
Yes.
with the statistics of white children and black children? What do you guys think about what I'm trying to say? Like the upcoming school year. What do you guys think should happen as far as education when it comes to having a level playing field, being that COVID is upon us?
mhm. Y'all both
I
got
think
school
our
age kids, so
county,
I'm let y'all talk.
yeah,
Go
our
ahead, Savannah.
county is given an option for like the kids to either do distant learning or go back into school. I think it's kind of unfair almost to just say no school at all, because there are some children that don't have access, to
Yeah.
like the internet or a computer, and that kind of goes back into the systematic thing. Some families may suffer through that if they only had distant learning. So that's what our county's doing.
And see what
Yeah, it's the same here. I think the option is good. I think the option is really good for us staying home, going back to school. But I mean, who knows? Like, as far as my kids, I mean, I can't tell you if I'm gonna send them back, or I know one of my daughters, she doesn't do well being home and doing schoolwork.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One of them
see
did
what
really well. And I think one of them, I think it's just the codependency. One like to depend on one to get their work done. The other one just lazy and she just don't want to do her work. One of them like love to be at home because she can ask me everything and I can just help her out with everything. So it's like, what do I do?
Right.
So
I
I
think
mean, but the great thing is, like we were just talking about the system, how the system is set up. They never missed a beat because they always had laptops and computers to bring home and do their work, even when they were in school.
Yeah.
So
that's
it's
what I was
almost like them
about to
being
say.
at school, but not really being at school. They just missing out on the social part of it.
That's what I was about to say. Like I know in South Carolina, because I have family in South Carolina,
And
and some of the schools they provide the children with Chromebooks. So they give the child that access to, because all households don't have that, accessibility to the internet or to a computer or whatever. Like my children, I have an extra laptop that they were able to use once they had to start doing distance learning. But my wonderful boys, they somehow made it crash. And so I'm just like, okay, what do I do now? But I feel like if there's enough time for funding to be activated to that, that partial distance learning, partial in school learning. So I would be open to that fact if they truly put those resources. Okay, well, you know what? If we have the platforms, but my home computer can't access those school platforms because they have them locked down so tight. And so it's like, okay, well, if we're going to do part distance learning, part in school, then let's provide them with the resources, and then let's have that training for the parents who want to know what their child should be doing. So at any time, if my children sleep at 9 o'clock, I can go log into their stuff and say, okay, well, he's doing this, and this. And so me personally, I'm kind of open because, like you say, I have one son who's kind of like, okay, you know what, I can get it done. One son is just like, I'm at home. Why I gotta do schoolwork? I'm at home. I need to chill. This is my personal space. I don't want to do homework or schoolwork learning at home. So me personally, I would be open to, half and half.
Yeah. I'm just giving my comment real quick as an educator. I know a couple of the counties have come out and said that they're giving parents a choice, like Ashley said. I think that's beautiful, and Savannah said. I think that's awesome. My county hasn't come out with that yet. I think we just got a new superintendent. They haven't figured it out yet. I'm sure they're going to follow the lead of the other counties in Georgia. As an educator, I think that's beautiful. I just think that just like they need to provide the resources and the funding as a parent teaching, the same needs to happen as an educator. When virtual learning started, I felt like I was just kind of like got thrown into online teaching. Like it's 5 days. They took the kids out of school, and then like the next week I had to learn how to become this digital learning teacher and keep my kids engaged on a learning platform and all this other stuff. I'm just like, what in the world? I got kids doing TikTok videos while I'm trying to teach. Like they outside, like sitting up in the middle. They turn on the camera. They sitting in a tree, like outside while we're trying to learn today. Like, what are you doing? I don't understand. Like, how are you supposed to learn? And I have to figure out ways to keep them engaged and be pulled. Some kids I never saw the entire time because, and I teach middle school, but like, and then parents are at work. Like, I can't hold the parent accountable. They got to work. So they're just trusting that their child is going to jump on. Their child is not jumping on. Then kids are failing. And like, it was just really difficult. So while this is a new normal, and we as teachers, y'all as parents, like the counties, the superintendent, everybody's trying to figure it out. I just think that there has to be funding and resources in all areas, because if we go back in August and half of my parents decide their kids want to come face to face and half of them decide they want to stay home, do I have to create 2 lesson plans and do double duty? I don't want to do that. Set up a camera in the back of my classroom so while I'm teaching my
absolutely.
Then my other kids are watching digitally, but that's going to take funding into the school. So it's really hard all around from all aspects.
Yeah, and I think
living in like the world of like the racial division, coronavirus. I mean, what is 2020?
2020 is crazy. Okay.
I've been seeing people comparing it to Jumanji, like who's rolling the dice? Like let's get this game finished. It is way too much.
How do we finish with victory, Lord?
Yes. And I think, guys, we're having a little technical difficulties because I didn't hear nothing Tiki said.
Oh no!
It just looked like she was just doing sign language, like.
Oh no!
I didn't hear nothing she said. So.
Can you hear her now?
Can you hear me now?
No, I can't.
Oh, okay.
Well, this is the beauty of like virtual world. That's
right.
What we're having.
Right. So I think we had a pretty good conversation about think it's very
Yeah.
relevant. I think the most important thing that we can do as parents and as educators is just to educate our next generation.
Mm-hmm. That's
Like,
important.
like my kids didn't even know what Juneteenth was. I'm walking around with like, y'all get up, y'all don't, it's Juneteenth. We go, they're looking at me like, and I was like, okay, so
Yeah.
each one of you guys have to go look it up. Like, go educate yourselves. They didn't even know what it was. So I think it's a good. I think it today has an advantage and a disadvantage. And I think one of the advantages is that my kids are becoming more educated about what it means to be Black in America.
Yeah.
In ways that they can still overcome and be successful with being Black in America. And even like my 13-year-old daughter, it's like, y'all have a place in America right now, like
Right.
to understand who you are as a 13-year-old girl who's Black in America, and just try to do the best you can now to make sure that you are a success. So I think that's our role as a parent in today, is just to educate our kids, because they are the next generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what are some resources then, Ashley, or some like places
So I
that
did-
our listeners can follow?
yeah, I did do a little research. I did one of the main people that's been speaking out a lot, who I always do, is Sean King, and he has something called Grassroots Laws. And then there's Color of Change. Most of the things that I'm talking about are on Instagram, because Instagram is really big. Social media is huge to get involved and to also locate and identify ways that you can get involved. So it's your local NAACP. For us, it's Atlanta, Georgia. Black Lives Matter, they have a website and they have an Instagram page. They're always posting things like how you can get more involved. Your Rights Camp, which was started by Colin Kaepernick. And it's also an Instagram page called Check Your Privilege. And one of my favorite ladies, Ava DuVernay, I always mess up her last name. Ava DuVernay. She's one of my favorites. She's always putting up stuff on her Instagram page to promote Black
Awareness.
and racial equality and stuff. And if you haven't checked out any of her documentaries, please go check them out. It's very educated.
What was that?
What was that?
What was that?
Sorry.
But yeah,
this is the life we live, this virtual life.
yeah, man.
Everybody's eyes got to be.
Oh gosh.
Yes, but really, so y'all, people, if you really want to be involved, follow all of us. And I'm always out protesting. I'm all about calling legislators, signing petitions. All of those places that Ashley just named really give you a lot of action steps, especially Grassroots Law and Sean King, Ava DuVernay. They give you a lot of action steps that you can take in this fight against racial inequality in America. We got a long way to go, but it's going to take all of us to create change and to make change.
Absolutely.
So make sure that you get involved.
Exactly.
Yeah. But we almost out of time. Tiki, you got the girl breathe moment for this week?
Yes. So our girl brief moment, it just comes from, with everything going in social media, as you guys see, we just kind of unloaded on you all. Social media is big, and because everything is coming out so much, so frequently, it can be daunting. So remember, at some point, please just remember to unplug for your sanity's sake. Just so you won't blow up on somebody from something you see on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, from the news. The news has a way of you be depressed. So remember to unplug. It is so important for your sanity.
Yep.
Yes.
I had to do that. I had to take a break from social media for a couple moments. I was like, it's too much. I can't take it.
I'm gonna have to. I haven't yet, but it's coming. It's pending because it's too much.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, Tiki, tell them where to follow us at, girl.
All right, guys. So if you enjoyed listening to us today, always remember to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Please remember to hit the notification bell so that you will be alerted when we post our next show. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye, y'all. Peace out.
Bye. Peace out.